Not only does he have a passion for animal rescue, but he is also able to capture stunning photos of your fur family. Hi, I'm Valesa Linnean with Keller Williams Realty, and on today's episode of Explore My Town Anchorage, we will be exploring David Jensen Photography. My town is your town, so let's explore together. So today I'm here with a longtime friend of mine, David Jensen. So David, we've been friends for a long time, but I don't think I ever asked you how you got into photography.
Well, I've always enjoyed photography, but I think I really, as you say, got into something else first, and that was dogs. And I love dogs, and my wife had a collie named Skylar, and he was starting to get old, and I thought, I'm going to take some pictures and stuff. I thought, I want a really nice portrait, but I couldn't find anybody in Anchorage who was really focusing on just dogs and people. So I really wanted that picture of the collie, Skylar, and I looked around. I finally found somebody. I had to take him into the studio as opposed to that photographer coming to me. So I took him into the studio, and they did as good a job as they could, but I could tell they're more used to working with families and things like that without the pets. So I thought, well, they turned out nice. Carol really liked the gift, but I can't be the only person in the world who wants to do something like this. And I thought, well, I might go ahead and start a business, and I'll see if anyone else is interested. So I put a little tiny ad in the Yellow Pages in 1989. The Yellow Pages, what are those? The phone book. When we used to have phone books to use. And I put that little ad in there within about 2 weeks after I graduated from University of Alaska, Anchorage. And lo and behold, as soon as that book came out in June, I started getting phone calls from people saying, we've been waiting for someone who might do something like this, and I can't wait. So my very first session was a dog named Sasha and a mom named Daisy, and I took great pictures of that golden retriever. I was so proud of myself using film, that celluloid stuff that goes inside a camera that they don't use anymore, and everything's pixels now. And I still have all that film as well from back then. And it was just a fantastic experience for me.
So David, you've captured some amazing pictures of pets looking right at the camera. What is your secret?
Oh no, I was afraid you might ask me that. I'm that guy at the middle of an intersection, and all of a sudden you hear a pig noise or a bark noise or a whimpering noise or a cat noise, because it's me practicing like an opera star, new noises that I can make to get a dog's attention. Because I learned a long time ago that by watching my own dogs, what stimulates them? If I just sit in my living room on my chair, do nothing at all, and all of a sudden they hear, and they'll go, oh, what's that? And they'll think someone's here. Yeah, who's here? And so I learn all these things just by observing dogs and cats and horses and donkeys and donkeys and rabbits, you name it. What stimulates them to get them interested in their ears up and looking at me, or maybe looking off to the side by tossing a piece of jerky. And it's all a matter of observation, and then also not being afraid to bark at a dog or see, he's used to it. So I'd have to find something else, like a creepy rapper. And I just enjoy the heck out of it, because when I'm in that atmosphere, people understand why I'm barking and making those kind of noises, as opposed to when I'm in the middle of an intersection, my windows are down, people looking at me, oh, what's going on there? So that's how I do that, and it's pretty cool. Of course, all the head tilts and stuff like that. And every dog that comes in here loves the treats I give to them more than the treats their parents give to them, because it's something different, it's something special. Like, ooh, I like that guy.
Yeah, so, you pulled out the bag of jerky and you got my dog's attention real fast. So David, what's one of the most unusual things you've taken a picture of?
That's a really tough question, because there's so many unusual things. Usually the most unusual is the people. And thankfully the dogs are there to rescue them in their photo session. But as far as unique animals and experiences that I've had, I've photographed a camel over at the zoo, because the family that bought a camel, the original camel for the zoo, he bought it as a gift for his wife to be cared for at the zoo. And what an intimidating creature to photograph, because they're so gentle, but they're so huge. And just the camel that I was photographing, his name was Boris, wanted to know what I was doing with this camera, and I'm right there. And at that time I was using a medium format camera, which uses a larger piece of film, and this was back in the early 90s. And Boris came up to me, and then he just kind of nudged me, tossed me on the ground because I didn't know what to expect because it was so strong. And so it's that kind of experience that's just, to me, really unusual. And I'm so fortunate to be able to capture and be a part of things like that. There was a horse I photographed many years ago, and it was just a pony, really, a foal. And I was talking after the session, really proud of myself, patting myself on the back. That was a great session. I love photographing your horse. And the horse was kind of nudging me, wanting to get more kind of time with me because I was giving it, I don't know, sugar cubes or carrots or apples or something like that to kind of get its attention. And what happened is I wasn't paying attention, but he wasn't nudging me. He was chewing on my camera, and he opened the back of my camera and exposed the entire roll of film because it had popped right open like that, which cameras don't do that today. They have little media cards. Back then, if you expose the film, it's all radiated by the sun. So we had to reshoot the whole session again.
So David?
Yes?
Tell us about your passion for animal rescue.
Oh, my passion for animal rescue. 99% of the dogs that we've had, my wife and I, Carol, who is my beacon basically, have been rescues. And I think that most of what I know about rescues have come from strong, leading ladies who've taught me about rescue, because rescue with dogs really originates with women. And that has always been what I've used as a role model. Men are coming into the scene so much more than they were back in the day, but my wife was always an advocate, and she's somebody who would advocate for dogs who had been or were being treated very poorly. And she's the person who would stand right up there to strong, intimidating men kind of guys who weren't doing the right thing, and she'd tell them what is and what isn't and what is right. So at the time, I was probably in my early 30s, and sometimes it was intimidating to me because it just seemed like, oh, you're kind of out there a little bit, aren't you? It's kind of, I don't know if that's going to be good for business and stuff. Eventually it started growing on me more and more and more what she was doing, and I started learning more from her and from other women who had such a passion for other creatures and other beings who couldn't speak for themselves. And I realized this wasn't a business thing, this was a life thing for me, to photograph dogs who needed to have a permanent, forever love. One of the first dogs that I photographed was actually two dogs. There were a couple puppies, and they soon were adopted as a result because it appeared in the Anchorage Times. Eventually we would start appearing in the Anchorage Times as well as the Anchorage Daily News, and started featuring the dogs and cats in a feature called Pet Patrol. Pet Patrol started picking up. Friends of Pets was started just about the same time I started my business, and since then, I think, thanks to the volunteers, I photographed probably 2,000, 2,100 dogs and cats since 1989, at least for Friends of Pets and others for other organizations too. But as I like to tell everybody, I get the glamorous part. I don't have to do as much as everyone else has to do. The foster families that will foster a dog for 3 days or a year before it finally finds its forever home, or the medical bills, or the other issues, psychological issues of a dog who is not sure who he or she is yet, because they aren't until about a year or so after they finally found out that, like you have, and seen the dogs transform after a year with the dogs you've adopted, and they become who they're meant to be.
Yeah, and we fostered one for Alaska Dog and Puppy Rescue that we had for probably 5 months. She was terrified of everything, and we managed to bring her out of her shell and watch her come to life until she was able to be adopted.
That's right, and that's what it's all about, is seeing that transformation and knowing it's going to happen. So I bring a dog in, Friends of Pets brings a dog in to me, I photograph them, and I try my very best to bring out some little glimmer of the personality of the dog they're going to become. But this is a dog who's probably being kenneled or in a foster home and still is unsure, why am I at this place? Is this where I'm going to be now? Where am I going to be tomorrow? They just don't know, and dogs go through that kind of emotion. So
It's even harder with cats because I know they bring cats in and the cats are afraid.
That's right.
But I know that personally we have taken in 2 cats that I saw your photos. One was Goblin, you took a picture of her, it was for the SPCA. And the other one was a 14-year-old cat that someone dropped off at animal control. And Friends of Pets brought her in, and it broke my heart that they brought this 14-year-old cat in. So we took her and we had her for 4 years until she passed away at the age of 18, thanks to your picture.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad to hear that. What's important to me is that if I did one picture, and that meant one chapter, one story, after all these years that happened that was a good story, it would be everything to me and know that I've done something good. And what I mean by that is that any one person can do miracles by just making one gesture to another dog or another person or another cat, and you've made a difference in your life. And maybe that's what your legacy is, just one time. If you can do it another time, then great. If you can do it another time, great. It doesn't have to be your life story, the whole thing, but if you can do it, at least just do something nice for somebody else who doesn't have their own voice.
And not only do you volunteer your time to take pictures for Friends of Pets, but I love that you do photo shoots to raise money for different organizations. I know last year in March, right after the lockdowns, you took Porch Pictures, and you drove around town. How many families did you photograph for that?
I think it ran probably 120 or so different families, and there might have been a little bit of a gas bill attached to all of that. So I see myself as just a person who knows that it's not that difficult when you find people who trust you a little bit anyway to be something of an organizer. And so the things I do, whether it's clean up, poop scooping somewhere and getting people together, I'm just very grateful to others who trust that what we're going to do together is going to be something that's going to be rewarding and it's going to touch other people. So with that particular project, I usually choose one, maybe 2 different nonprofits each year as my signature agencies to support. With that project, my goal was during COVID to find a way to bring our community together when we're not seeing each other, if at all, with a mask or out of mask, to show that we're all still here together and we're making it.
And all you did was ask for donations to different organizations. I know, I think we did Friends of Pets and Straw for Dogs. There was another one, what's the one about putting food on, helping people feed their pets?
The Normandy Project and Paws at the Table. And
okay, I think Paws at the Table was the other one. Mm-hmm. And I know that we've had pictures of our dogs when Hurricane Katrina went through and all the pets were displaced down in Texas and down in the South. You took pictures of people's pets and just asked for a donation to those organizations. Yeah. So I love the work that you do to help out the animals.
It's just, thank you. I'm a person with a camera and I use that as my, everyone let's gather around my camera. Let's do something together and have fun with it and make a positive impact somewhere. And most of those voices you don't even get to know or get to see, but everybody who let me take their picture around town did something that helped some other little Mr. Boboy or Cleo or somebody else that they'll never meet, but you know that it made an impact. You don't have to meet them to know that you did something good.
So I can tell you this, you can absolutely feel the passion when you look at David's work. So if you want someone who's fantastic at what they do and who obviously cares about what they do, contact David Jensen. You can find him at davidjensenphotography.com. As someone who serves our community, I know how vital local businesses are to our economy. That's why I partnered with My Town to showcase and support our local businesses. Won't you join me? Send me a DM. I'd love to explore your business or any business that you think should be featured.